Ladies and gentlemen, it is a peculiar truth about human nature that our first impressions are often shaped by what is seen. When men encounter women, the question arises, what is it they notice first? At first glance it may seem a trivial inquiry, but beneath it lies an exploration of human perception, love, and even the nature of the soul. First, let us acknowledge the obvious. Men, like all humans, are creatures with senses. They see and they notice. It might be the curve of a smile, the grace of a movement, or even the way sunlight catches the hair. These observations are not inherently shallow, for they are the gateways to an encounter with another soul. But let us not mistake the gateway for the destination. To dwell exclusively on the physical is akin to admiring the facade of a house without ever stepping inside. We must next consider how culture shapes these observations. From youth, men are bombarded with images and narratives that dictate what they should notice. Beauty measured by symmetry, fashion, or fleeting trends. These standards are not only arbitrary, but dangerously reductive. They turn a living, breathing woman into a checklist of attributes. Surely the Creator who made the stars and the oceans intended more for his daughters than this. Men's initial observations of women often stem from what is visible, yet this is only the beginning of a deeper and more profound engagement. Human beings, as creatures of sight, are naturally attuned to the physical world. The eyes capture what is before them, the colors of clothing, the symmetry of features, or the gestures that convey grace and vitality. This is not a failing or a fault, but a natural aspect of how we perceive and interact with the world. However, what begins with the senses is meant to lead us beyond them, for first impressions are but a shallow whisper of the greater reality that lies beneath. Consider for a moment the way an artist approaches a canvas. The first glance at their work reveals broad strokes and colors, a general sense of form and structure. This initial impression is important. It invites attention, sparks curiosity, and begins the process of understanding. Yet the artist does not stop there, nor does the viewer who wishes to appreciate the depth of the painting. They look closer, observing the subtleties, the textures, and the interplay of light and shadow. In much the same way, the first things a man notices about a woman are the broad strokes of outward appearance. These observations, while immediate and perhaps instinctive, are not the end of the story, but an invitation to know more. It is crucial to understand that the physical, though immediately noticeable, is not trivial. Physicality is a gift, a part of the human experience that reflects beauty and creativity. In every culture, human beings have celebrated the beauty of form, whether through art, poetry, or music. Yet this appreciation is meant to point beyond itself. Beauty is not merely an end, but a signpost to something greater, a reflection of the goodness and glory of its creator. The danger arises when one lingers too long on the surface, mistaking the signpost for the destination. For men, noticing outward appearance first is a natural response to the world, but it must not become the totality of their perception. To fixate on physical traits alone is to treat a person as an object, reducing a rich, complex being to a collection of visible attributes. It is akin to standing at the edge of a vast ocean and focusing only on the waves at the shore, never imagining the depths that lie beneath. A woman is not merely a body, a shape, or a face. She is a soul, an eternal being with thoughts, emotions, and aspirations. To stop at the surface is to miss the profound depth of what it means to encounter another human being. The role of first impressions, then, is to invite a deeper exploration. What begins with a smile or a gesture must lead to curiosity about the heart and mind behind it. Does the brightness of her eyes reflect joy or sorrow? Does the warmth of her smile hint at kindness, resilience, or generosity? These questions can only be answered through patience and attention, through the willingness to look beyond what is easily seen. The initial observation may spark interest, but it is the unfolding of a person's character and spirit that sustains admiration and affection. End footnote. This movement from the surface to the soul is not merely an act of courtesy or decency. It is an acknowledgement of the inherent worth of every person. Men and women alike are created in the image of God, endowed with dignity and value that transcends physical appearance. To engage with another person on this deeper level is to honor that divine image, to recognize the sacredness of human connection. In a world that so often prizes outward beauty above all else, this deeper recognition is a radical act of love and respect. Moreover, the physical and the spiritual are not wholly separate but intertwined. The body, after all, is the vessel through which the soul expresses itself. A warm smile or a graceful movement can indeed reveal aspects of character, just as the tone of a voice can convey sincerity or gentleness. These outward signs are meaningful, but they are always partial. They are clues, not conclusions. To truly know another person requires time, attention, and the willingness to see beyond the immediate and the obvious. There is also a lesson here about humility. Men who notice women first through their outward appearance must acknowledge the limits of their perception. The physical is easily seen, but it is not easily understood. To assume that one knows a person based on what is first noticed is an act of arrogance, a failure to recognize the complexity and mystery of another soul. True perception requires humility, the willingness to admit that there is always more to learn, always more to discover. In conclusion, men's initial observations of women are a natural part of human interaction, but they are not the full story. These first impressions are like the cover of a book, inviting interest but revealing only the barest hint of what lies within. To remain at the surface is to miss the richness of the narrative, the beauty of the character, and the wisdom of the message. Men who wish to truly know and appreciate women must look beyond what they notice first, seeking the depth and dignity that make every person a reflection of the divine. In doing so, they honor not only the women they encounter, but also the Creator who made them both. The way men notice women is deeply influenced by the cultural norms and expectations into which they are born and raised. From the earliest moments of awareness, society begins to shape perceptions, subtly and overtly dictating what should be noticed and valued. This conditioning operates through countless channels: family traditions, media portrayals, educational frameworks, and even the casual remarks exchanged in everyday conversation. Over time, it weaves a tapestry of assumptions that inform not only how women are seen, but also what aspects of their identity are prioritized or dismissed. However, the standards set by culture are often arbitrary, and worse still, distortive of the true essence of a person. 6. Engagement. One of the most pervasive influences comes from media, which has an unparalleled power to amplify certain images and ideals. Across films, advertisements, magazines, and now social media platforms, women are frequently presented in ways that emphasize physical beauty, youthfulness, and sensuality. This narrow focus sends a clear message. These are the traits that warrant attention. Men who consume such media, whether consciously or passively, are subtly conditioned to see women primarily through this lens. They may find themselves noticing a particular hairstyle, body type, or manner of dress, not because these qualities are inherently more significant, but because they have been repeatedly taught to notice them. Yet such portrayals often fail to reflect the diversity and depth of real human experiences. The media's idealized images rarely capture the intelligence, creativity, and resilience that women embody. Worse, these portrayals can reduce women to objects of admiration or desire, stripping away the individuality and dignity that define their true worth. The result is a culture where the external is often mistaken for the essential, where appearances are mistaken for identity. This shallow view not only diminishes women, but also deprives men of the opportunity to see and appreciate the richness of the person before them. Cultural conditioning does not operate in isolation. It is reinforced through social norms and practices, many of which are deeply rooted in history. In some societies, for example, women's value has been historically tied to their roles within the family or their ability to conform to specific standards of beauty and behavior. These norms shape what men are taught to notice and esteem. In the same way, self-improvement is relatively new to many cultures. A man raised in such a context might learn to value submissiveness or gentleness in a woman, while overlooking her strength or independence. Conversely, in modern contexts that celebrate ambition and confidence, he might notice a woman's professional achievements, but fail to acknowledge the quiet virtues of compassion and humility. This dynamic is further complicated by the intersection of personal preferences and societal expectations. While it is natural for individuals to be drawn to certain traits, be it a sense of humor, a passion for learning, or a shared interest in art or music, cultural influences often blur the lines between personal choice and imposed ideals. A man may believe he is simply following his instincts when he notices a woman's appearance or demeanor, but in truth those instincts have been shaped by years of external influence. Recognizing this reality requires a deliberate effort to question one's assumptions and consider whether they truly align with what is meaningful and enduring. Importantly, the effects of cultural conditioning are not limited to the initial stages of perception. They also shape how men interpret and respond to what they notice. A woman who is confident and assertive may be admired in one cultural context, but perceived as intimidating or unwelcome in another. Similarly, traits like kindness or modesty might be overlooked if they do not align with the dominant cultural narrative about what makes a woman desirable or worthy of attention. These biases create a narrow framework within which women are judged and valued, leaving little room for the complexity and individuality that define real people. The challenge, then, is to move beyond these shallow and often arbitrary standards. To truly see a person requires a willingness to question what one has been taught to notice and value. It means recognizing that the cultural lens through which we view others is not neutral, but shaped by a mixture of tradition, power dynamics, and commercial interests. By acknowledging this, men can begin to free themselves from the constraints of cultural conditioning and engage with women in ways that honor their full humanity. This shift in perspective is not merely a matter of fairness or equality, it is a profound act of respect and humility. It requires men to see women not as reflections of societal ideals, but as unique individuals with their own stories, struggles, and aspirations. It challenges them to value character over conformity, essence over appearance. In doing so, it opens the door to deeper and more meaningful relationships, built on mutual understanding and genuine appreciation. Ultimately, the impact of cultural conditioning reminds us of the responsibility that comes with perception. Men who notice women must ask themselves, "What am I seeing, and why? Are my observations shaped by genuine curiosity and respect, or are they the product of a world that prioritizes the superficial over the substantial?" These questions are not easy, but they are necessary, for only by confronting the influence of culture can men begin to notice women not as objects or ideals, but as the richly complex and infinitely valuable individuals they are. This is not only an act of justice, it is a celebration of the divine image that every person reflects. Every human being, whether man or woman, bears the image of God, a concept often described in theological terms as imago Dei. This foundational truth affirms the intrinsic value, dignity, and sacredness of each person. To see another human being, then, is to encounter a reflection of the divine. Yet, when men reduce their perception of women to outward appearances, they risk dishonoring this profound reality. To treat a woman merely as an object of attraction or curiosity is to fail to recognize her as a spiritual being, created with purpose and worth beyond measure. Such a view is not only shallow, but also a denial of the deeper truth of her identity. The image of God is not a feature confined to physical attributes or external traits. It encompasses the totality of a person, their mind, spirit, creativity, and moral capacity. This means that every interaction with another person holds the potential for profound significance. When men notice women, their first impressions, while natural and often focused on what is visible, should serve as an entry point into this greater understanding. To stop at the surface is to miss the divine mystery present within each person. One of the dangers of focusing too much on outward appearances is that it reduces a person to a single dimension, ignoring the complexity and depth that make them unique. Women, like men, are multifaceted beings with thoughts, emotions, and aspirations that reflect the creativity and intentionality of their creator. They are not simply bodies to be admired or evaluated. They are souls to be known and cherished. To see a woman as a mere collection of physical attributes is to strip away the richness of her identity, turning her into a mere shadow of the vibrant and intricate person she truly is. This reductionist view is not only harmful to women, but also impoverishes the men who hold it. When men fail to look beyond appearances, they deprive themselves of the opportunity to engage with the fullness of another person's humanity. They miss out on the joy of discovering her character, her passions, and her wisdom, qualities that are far more enduring and meaningful than any external feature. In this sense, the way men perceive women is not just a reflection of their attitudes toward others, but also of their own capacity for depth and maturity. Moreover, the idea of imago Dei challenges cultural narratives that place undue emphasis on physical beauty as a measure of a person's worth. In a society that often glorifies youth, symmetry, and other fleeting attributes, it is easy to lose sight of the eternal value that resides within each individual. Men, influenced by these cultural standards, may find themselves noticing women in ways that prioritize superstantive ones over substantive ones. Yet true beauty is not confined to the external. It radiates from within, shaped by a person's virtues, character, and spirit. A woman's kindness, integrity, and resilience are reflections of the divine image within her, and these qualities should be the focus of admiration and respect. 2. Conformity should not be the enemy of the peace. This perspective also invites a re-evaluation of what it means to truly see someone. Seeing is not merely a physical act, it is an encounter that engages the mind and heart. To see a woman as she truly is requires more than noticing her appearance. It requires a willingness to look deeper, to listen, and to understand. It means recognizing her as a fellow image-bearer, with a story and a purpose that extend far beyond the moment of first impression. This kind of seeing is not passive but active, requiring attention, humility, and a genuine desire to know the person as she is. Furthermore, the recognition of Imago Dei calls for a deeper sense of responsibility in how men interact with women. To see another person as a reflection of God's image is to acknowledge their inherent dignity and to treat them with the honor and respect they deserve. This means resisting the temptation to reduce women to stereotypes or to view them through the lens of cultural expectations. It means valuing them for who they are, not for how well they conform to societal ideals. In practical terms, this might involve noticing not just a woman's appearance, but her intelligence, humor, or compassion, qualities that reveal the depth of her humanity. In other words, the greater the connection between the partners, the idea that every person reflects the image of God also points to the interconnectedness of all human relationships. Men and women are not isolated individuals, but part of a larger community, called to live in harmony and mutual respect. When men see women primarily as objects of attraction or admiration, they undermine this sense of community, creating a dynamic that is transactional rather than relational. In contrast, when men recognize women as fellow image bearers, they affirm the dignity and worth of each person, fostering relationships that are based on equality, trust, and mutual understanding. Finally, this recognition transforms the way men approach love and attraction. Physical beauty, while not unimportant, becomes secondary to the qualities that truly reflect the divine image. Love becomes less about possession or desire, and more about appreciation and service. It seeks the good of the other, not as a means to an end, but as an end in itself. In this light, what men notice about women first is less significant than what they come to value and cherish as they grow in understanding and relationship. In conclusion, the idea that every person is made in the image of God offers a profound challenge to superficial perceptions and cultural stereotypes. It invites men to look beyond what is immediately visible and to engage with the deeper reality of a woman's identity. By recognizing women as reflections of the divine, men honor not only the women they encounter, but also the Creator who made them. In Thumbnails, this perspective elevates human relationships, transforming them from fleeting interactions into sacred encounters that reflect the beauty and mystery of God's design. The concept of prioritizing virtues over vanity speaks to a fundamental truth about human relationships and the way we perceive others, particularly in the context of men noticing women. While physical beauty often draws initial attention, it is the qualities of character that leave a lasting impression and form the foundation for meaningful connections. This principle challenges the shallow tendencies of modern culture, which places disproportionate emphasis on appearances and invites a deeper reflection on what truly matters when assessing the worth of a person. Physical attractiveness, while often celebrated, is inherently fleeting. It changes with time and is subject to the whims of cultural trends. What one society or era deems beautiful may be considered ordinary or even undesirable in another. This variability highlights the fragility of basing perceptions of value on external traits. In practice, we can fall victim to the same thing as many as erase the natural world when it fails to meet our expectations. A person's physical appearance may catch the eye, but it cannot sustain admiration or affection unless it is accompanied by qualities that speak to the heart and mind. Virtues such as kindness, integrity, humility, and courage transcend time and culture. They are the enduring markers of true beauty, capable of deepening relationships and inspiring respect. The prioritization of virtues over vanity also reflects a more profound understanding of human dignity. When men notice women, they are often influenced by societal standards that equate worth with physical attractiveness. Advertisements, entertainment, and even social media platforms promote an idealized image of beauty, encouraging individuals to measure themselves and others against unattainable standards. This narrow focus reduces women to their outward appearances, ignoring the depth and complexity of their identities. However, by shifting attention to virtues, men can honor the full humanity of women, recognizing them not as objects to be admired, but as individuals to be respected and cherished. Virtues offer a deeper insight into a person's character and values. For instance, a woman's kindness reveals her capacity for empathy and compassion, her willingness to care for others even in difficult circumstances. Her integrity demonstrates a commitment to honesty and principle, a foundation for trust in any relationship. Her humility reflects a balanced view of herself, free from arrogance or self-absorption. These qualities, while less immediately visible than physical traits, are far more indicative of the kind of person she is and the kind of relationships she can nurture. The cultivation of virtues also creates a ripple effect, influencing not only how a person is perceived, but also how they interact with the world. A woman who embodies courage may inspire others to face their own fears. A woman with a generous spirit may foster a sense of community and support among those around her. These attributes extend beyond the individual, shaping environments and relationships in profound ways. When men learn to notice and value these virtues, they are not only enriching their own lives, but also affirming the importance of character in society as a whole. Focusing on virtues over vanity also aligns with the deeper purposes of love and attraction. Physical beauty may spark initial interest, but true love requires a connection that goes beyond the surface. Love is not merely a response to what is seen, it is an appreciation for who a person is at their core. It is built on shared values, mutual respect, and the ability to grow together. Virtues are the qualities that sustain this kind of love, providing the foundation for trust, understanding, and enduring partnership. A man who values virtues is better equipped to form relationships that are meaningful and lasting, rather than superficial and fleeting. This perspective also challenges men to reflect on their own values and the standards by which they judge others. If men are drawn primarily to outward appearances, they may inadvertently perpetuate the very cultural norms that prioritize vanity over substance. However, By choosing to notice and appreciate virtues, they set a different standard, one that encourages deeper connections and affirms the intrinsic worth of every individual. This shift in focus requires intentionality and self-awareness, a willingness to look beyond what is immediately apparent and to seek out the qualities that truly define a person. Moreover, valuing virtues over vanity fosters a sense of equality and mutual respect in relationships. When men focus solely on physical beauty, they risk objectifying women, treating them as things to be admired rather than as partners to be valued. This dynamic creates an imbalance, undermining the sense of shared humanity that should characterize all interactions. In contrast, when men recognize and appreciate the virtues of the women they encounter, they affirm their dignity and worth as individuals. This recognition paves the way for relationships that are grounded in respect, reciprocity, and genuine connection. The emphasis on virtues also aligns with a broader spiritual and moral framework. In many religious and philosophical traditions, virtues are seen as reflections of a higher good, a manifestation of divine qualities in human form. To notice and value these virtues is to honor the sacredness of the individual and to acknowledge the deeper truths about what it means to be human. In this sense, prioritizing virtues over vanity is not merely a matter of personal preference or taste. It is an act of reverence, an acknowledgement of the divine image present in every person. Finally, this perspective invites men to consider their own growth and development. If virtues are what matter most, then it is not enough to simply notice them in others. Men must also strive to cultivate these qualities within themselves. A man who values kindness, for example, must seek to become kind. A man who admires integrity must live with integrity. This mutual pursuit of virtue enriches relationships, creating a dynamic in which both individuals challenge and inspire one another to become their best selves. In conclusion, the prioritization of virtues over vanity is a profound and transformative principle. It challenges superficial perceptions, affirms the intrinsic worth of every individual, and fosters relationships that are meaningful and enduring. By focusing on the qualities that reflect true character, men can move beyond the fleeting allure of appearances and embrace the deeper beauty that lies within. In doing so, they honor not only the women they encounter, but also the divine image that each person bears, creating a world where dignity, respect, and love prevail. The act of noticing another person, particularly in the context of men observing women, holds a weight of responsibility that often goes unacknowledged. Every glance, every remark, and every judgment contributes to the shaping of social dynamics and personal identities. When men notice women, their attention is not a neutral act, but one that carries the potential to affirm or undermine dignity, value, and respect. Determining factors for successful marriages takes many interactions to improve sexual relationships, and carries the potential to affirm or undermine dignity, value, and respect. Understanding this responsibility requires a thoughtful examination of how perception influences behavior, and how that behavior in turn impacts relationships and societal norms. At its core, noticing is more than just a passive act of observation. It is an interaction, a moment of engagement that can either uplift or diminish. When a man notices a woman, he communicates something through his words, actions, or even silence. These signals can affirm her worth as an individual, seeing her as a person of intrinsic value, or they can reduce her to an object of fleeting attention. The situation that notorious Bandami, the difference lies in the intent behind the observation and the depth of respect it conveys. Society often trivializes the act of noticing, particularly when it comes to men observing women, reducing it to a matter of attraction or preference. However, the responsibility inherent in noticing goes far beyond personal inclinations. It requires an awareness of how such actions resonate within a broader cultural framework. Men who fail to approach this act thoughtfully risk perpetuating harmful stereotypes, reinforcing societal pressures, and contributing to environments where women are judged primarily by their appearances or their ability to meet certain standards. To notice responsibly is to look beyond the surface, to recognize the fullness of a woman's humanity. This involves actively resisting the shallow inclinations that society often encourages. It means seeing not just her physical traits, but also her character, her contributions, and her individuality. A responsible observer acknowledges that a person is more than the sum of their external features, understanding that true appreciation stems from engaging with the deeper aspects of who they are. This approach elevates the act of noticing from a casual reflex to a meaningful interaction. The responsibility of noticing also extends to the way men express their observations. Words and gestures carry weight, shaping how a woman perceives herself and her place in the world. Compliments, for example, can be uplifting when they affirm a woman's character, achievements, or unique qualities. However, when they focus solely on physical appearance, they risk reducing her identity to what is visible, overshadowing the complexity and depth of her being. Men must therefore consider not just what they notice, but how they communicate that notice, ensuring that their expressions build rather than diminish. Moreover, responsible noticing requires an awareness of power dynamics and social contexts. In many cultures, women have historically been placed in positions where their worth is judged disproportionately by men's perceptions. This legacy creates an imbalance that men must actively work to address. By noticing women in ways that affirm their dignity and agency, men can challenge these dynamics, contributing to a culture that values individuals for who they are, rather than how they conform to societal expectations. This shift requires humility and intentionality, as it involves recognizing and dismantling biases that may be deeply ingrained. Another dimension of this responsibility lies in the impact that noticing has on relationships. How a man notices a woman can set the tone for their interactions, influencing the trust, respect, and mutual understanding that develop between them. A shallow or objectifying gaze may create barriers, fostering insecurity or mistrust. In contrast, a thoughtful and respectful approach opens the door to genuine connection, where both individuals feel seen and valued for who they are. This dynamic is particularly important in romantic relationships, where the foundation of love and partnership is built on mutual recognition and respect. The act of noticing also has a broader ripple effect, shaping societal attitudes and norms. When men notice women with respect and thoughtfulness, they contribute to a culture that values individuals for their inner qualities rather than superficial attributes. This cultural shift benefits not only women but also men, fostering environments where people are encouraged to develop and celebrate their full humanity. In contrast, when men prioritize appearance over substance, they reinforce harmful stereotypes that limit both men and women, perpetuating cycles of judgment and insecurity. Taking responsibility for how one notices others also requires introspection. Men must examine their own biases and assumptions, questioning what shapes their perceptions and why. Are they influenced by cultural standards, personal preferences, or societal pressures? Do their observations reflect genuine curiosity and respect, or are they shaped by shallow ideals? This self-awareness is essential for moving beyond conditioned responses and embracing a more intentional and respectful approach to noticing. Additionally, responsible noticing invites men to see their actions as part of a larger moral and spiritual framework. In many traditions, the way one perceives and treats others is seen as a reflection of one's values and character. To notice a woman with respect and care is to honor her as a fellow human being, created with purpose and dignity. This perspective transforms the act of noticing into a form of service, an acknowledgement of the sacredness inherent in every person. Ultimately, the responsibility of noticing is not about suppressing natural inclinations or denying the beauty that one sees in others. It is about approaching those inclinations with a sense of purpose and integrity, ensuring that they align with the principles of respect, dignity, and love. It is about recognizing that the way men notice women has the power to affirm their worth, challenge societal norms, and create relationships built on equality and understanding. In conclusion, noticing is far from a passive or trivial act. It is a moment of engagement that carries profound implications. Men who approach this act with responsibility and thoughtfulness can transform it into a source of affirmation and connection, fostering a culture that values people for their true worth. By looking beyond the surface and honoring the fullness of a person's identity, they contribute to a world where dignity and respect prevail, reflecting the best of what humanity can offer. In reflecting on the nuanced interplay between men and women, we are called to rise above superficial observations and engage with the profound truths of human dignity, character, and divine purpose. What men notice about women first may be shaped by natural instincts or societal influences, but this initial glance must not remain at the surface. Instead, it should serve as an invitation to delve deeper, to honor the person beyond the appearance, and to recognize the unique and unrepeatable image of God within her. The virtues that define a woman, her kindness, wisdom, courage, and integrity, are treasures far more enduring than physical beauty, and it is these qualities that build meaningful relationships and enrich the human experience. To notice with care, to affirm with respect, and to celebrate with sincerity is not only a reflection of maturity, but also a commitment to fostering a culture of mutual honor and understanding. Men bear the responsibility of choosing how they see and respond to women, for their perceptions and actions shape relationships, social dynamics, and even personal growth. By prioritizing virtues over vanity, and by acknowledging the divine image inherent in every person, they affirm a vision of humanity that transcends cultural norms and embraces the sacredness of life. Let us strive, then, to see with eyes that look beyond the fleeting and to value what is eternal. Let us notice not just what catches the eye, but what touches the soul. And in doing so, may we create a world where respect, love, and the fullness of human potential are celebrated, reflecting the beauty and goodness of our Creator.